Welcome to a riveting episode of Neo the Greatest podcast, Masculinity and Mental Health. We're diving headfirst into the uncharted territories of the male psyche, stripping away cliches and challenging the man up mantra. Meet our trailblazing guest, Elisa Young, a dynamo from Nipissing University. More than just an academic, he's a mentor, a voice in pivotal immigration debates. He's not only a mentor and advocate in the International Initiatives Office, but also a recognized voice in immigration panels, applauded by MPs like Anthony Rota. His commitment extends beyond academia, aspiring to make significant strides in mental health, particularly in vulnerable communities. His story is not just inspiring, it's a powerful echo of resilience and empathy. Today, Elisa helps us peel back the layers of masculinity, exposing the raw and real struggles against the backdrop of mental health. This isn't just talk, it's a journey to the core of what shapes, defines, and challenges modern manhood. Prepare for a conversation that's as enlightening as it is provocative. It's time to rethink, redefine, and rediscover masculinity. All this in just 60 minutes, right here on Neo the Greatest podcast. Tune in, get inspired, get challenged.
Okay, so I won't do any introductions because that causes so much nervousness and crazy stuff. So we just jump straight into the conversation. In fact, I will begin by a video. So you did a video that really caught my attention. And before we jump into our conversation, I want to play that video and then I have some follow-up questions for you. Just let me know if you can hear the video.
Sure, man.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Man up. Man up. Man up. Man up. And the world is on fire. How we got here? Nobody knows. My name is Elisa. I'm on a journey. I'm on a journey to chat with other men about how they go through their mental health problems. I'm tired. Man up. I feel like crying. Man up. I can't do this no more. Man up. I don't want to leave no more. Man up. What is it? Is it because we're not talking? Or is it because we're not being asked? We can talk. We must talk. We should talk.
Okay, so that's...
I'm going to say it's good. It's kind of interesting listening to myself talk.
I know, right?
you rarely watch your own videos, and it's just, okay, I'm just like reflecting. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, cool.
And that's the intention, because I want you to tell us, what were you thinking when you did that video? Because it's pretty much a loaded video. It feels to me like that's years of experience and of thinking embedded into that single video. You didn't just come up one day and start thinking about the concept, right? So what drove you to make that video?
Well, like you say, it's a very loaded video, and that was the message I was sending. And the idea, even the idea of having the fire, having the fire was like, okay, now it's because the world is on fire, and especially for men and for men, mental health really, we are catching fire because these are things that are left unresolved. These are things. It's like a volcano that's erupting, that's been, it's been ongoing, and now you've got all these issues that you have to deal with. But, is it like, okay, and at the end of that, is it because we're not talking, or is it because someone is not asking us?
Interesting.
So when I look at the journey that has led me to, make that first video, because like you say, it was not a one day thing. It was a very long process, even for me reflecting with and on myself, the idea of mental health and how even I myself, that's a side of me that I protect.
Yeah.
It's a side of me that, I keep, I really keep it close to myself because it's a side that I don't want people to see.
Mm-hmm.
It's a side of me that I feel like if someone sees it, that's a weakness. And that's how we're approaching it. It's okay. It's a weakness. But then what happens is that we've got all these fires burning. all of a sudden we have violent men. All of a sudden we have men who don't know how to control and express their emotions because they've never been taught how to do it.
Yes.
Every single time, and that's the concept of manning up is okay. Every single time you've got an issue, so say man up.
It's like keep it in the inside. Stuff, like, keep it in the inside, right? Don't talk about it.
Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. So you keep it on the inside. And the other day I was talking about how you leave a problem. Yeah. And a problem, let's say, for example, it happened 5 years ago.
Yes.
And you never resolved it. That problem has been cooking for 5 years.
So it doesn't go away.
No, it's still there. It's still with you.
Wow.
There's something that's upcoming for me. I'm going to do an interview with one of my friends.
Okay.
And I think it's very close to me. It's very close to them, as a refugee, as a previous refugee. And when you look at it and the way people look at things, you're like, people really don't know the reality. So the other day I watched a video, I'm doing my research on content.
Okay.
And this guy said something like, trauma is not real.
Whoa.
If you're a man enough, you can forget it.
Whoa. Okay. And what was your reaction to that?
So it's like, I'm thinking in my head, real hard.
Yeah.
Because, okay, I know, like in the refugee camp that I lived in back in the day, there was one rule that people had to follow. There was no fireworks allowed in the refugee camp.
Right. Because it reminds of the trauma, I guess.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay.
So trauma is real. Okay. And some people have left it unprocessed. And it's there. It's still sitting. And
wow.
Exactly. Especially when you have people who have this trauma that's unresolved. All right. It's good when you've had your trauma resolved. It's good when you've had like terms with your trauma.
Yes.
When you've come to terms, that's the word.
That's right.
So when you've come to terms with, when you've come to terms with your trauma, when you and trauma meet each other and greet each other and say, hi, I know who you are. Yeah. You know me. I know you. You see what I'm saying?
Funny.
I know you.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the idea of trauma is that these are some things in our subconscious. We don't know them.
Yes.
They just show up. They're just sitting there. All right. We're not aware of them. And all of a sudden they show up. That's the idea. So trauma, you meet trauma and tell trauma, I know you're there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you learn how to live with your trauma because no one can save you from your trauma. Wow. It's something that has happened to you. It's there. It lives with you. What you learn is how to live with it.
So you have to
live
it.
through it. You have to face it and shake hands.
Shake hands. I like that analogy of shaking hands.
So it's, if you can hear from all this, that video is, it's loaded.
It is.
It's a lot of cooking that has happened. Wow. And then it ends is it because we're not talking that we're here? Is it because people are not listening? Or is it because people are not even asking us what's going on in our heads, in our minds?
Wow.
Because things are happening in there.
That's interesting. And I love that your answer is also loaded.
Oh wait, the answer is loaded. So how do you, because I myself, because people will say that I'm a very resilient person. And I think it's because of how I grew up. I grew up in a refugee camp.
Right.
And when you've grown up in such hardship, and you've survived all that hardship, when people see you, they see a very resilient person.
That's right.
But not knowing what really has happened for you to become who you are. Because sometimes people say, okay, we become numb to pain. Sometimes things get so hard that it's not resilient, as you become numb.
Wow. And people congratulate that. Say you're strong.
Yeah, people congratulate. Yes, they say you're strong, but
you're dying.
But really, exactly.
Wow.
You see, so it's a lot of stuff, and then that's the other issue is that now people don't pick up on this stuff, and it's hard and it's difficult. But I wish people, even myself, I did give out the cues and what's so on. But yeah.
Wow, amazing.
Anyways, that's the video and me.
That's good. Thank you for explaining and breaking it down. Now, just for context, you studied psychology, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit about that? How did that go for you?
Well, actually, I did psychology. I did a degree in psychology. I wanted, I wanted to do a neuroscience.
Okay.
I was more interested, in the brain and the science of the brain, and more in the research side of things.
Yeah.
And then a few years back, I realized research was not my thing.
Okay.
So I started to look at other things. And then now I'm doing my master's in counseling psychology.
Okay.
I have 1 year. I have 1 year left to finish my master's in counseling psychology. And doing psychology taught me a lot, and especially right now that that I got out. So I was like, research. I want to do research. Like even going back, like the way the brain works, like the fact that, let's say, for example, you could step, like you might, okay, so, back home how we have, charcoal burners.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you step on a little piece of charcoal. Yeah. Why is it that sometimes you will feel the pain and sometimes you don't feel the pain? Those type of questions.
That's an interesting.
In terms of what I like how I really wanted to understand how the brain works, because it's interesting. How do you feel pain in some situations? In other situations, you don't feel pain. So it's very interesting. So those type of questions are what got me into the science of the brain, like the science of the brain.
Yeah.
So at the university that I got enrolled in, they had a degree in psychology and not in neuroscience. So I did my degree in psychology, mostly focused on the science end of things, like on the brain, on the biopsychology side of things for the most part. But really, I was just fitting into my interest in knowing how the brain works.
Okay. That's amazing. And I wanted to throw that in there so people know you're not making this thing up. You have some psychology education and you know what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And so, well, I had a few questions here. I think I cut you off there. You wanted to say something?
I was going to say that with regards to men's mental health, I don't have so much because there's not a whole lot going on out there.
Plus, you're a man, so I think that's enough, right?
Exactly. Yes, in that aspect of things, yes, I'm a man.
That's right.
But in terms of academia, I think there's a very big gap. If you look around for research, it's surface level. Research looking at men's mental health is surface level compared to, at what extent the general understanding of mental health. Yes, that's, it's massive. All right. But specific for men, it's surface level. I don't think, we have, from what I personally, have felt, have gone through as a man, and, looking at how other men's go through their problems. Because the issue with men's mental health, it's not just the biology, it's not just the psychology. There's culture, there's religions, there's all these other pieces, there's society, there's all these other pieces because if you look at the psychology, you look at the biology, and then you look at the culture.
Yeah.
Because here's the most stupid thing, the most stupid thing you will hear a black man say.
What would they say?
All right. And actually this, I was told this today. Today, someone told me this. I've heard it so many times, but someone today taught it to me again.
Okay, I want to hear it.
They said, sadness, depression is a white man thing.
Whoa. Okay.
You see?
Okay. So how?
I think you heard. I think you heard that. I think you heard that one.
I have.
Yeah.
I have. So, Elisa, how do we educate people? There are many people watching this, or who will be watching this, and they have the same attitude, right? They think depression is for white people and all that. So, what would you like to tell them? What's your message to them?
Well, my message to people, and some of these are my friends, and like you say, they'll be watching this, and we argue and that's the other funny thing is that we argue about this thing, but they turn it into a joke. But I'm serious about this, and and when we talk about it, and actually I use that as an example, I'm like, okay, this is why people don't talk about their problems. This is why people don't talk about their struggles. Why? Because you guys turn it into a joke. But this is serious. Yeah, this is serious. Okay, you will say that, okay, yeah, well, culturally, because we've grown up not to talk about our problems, culturally we've grown up to be men.
Yeah.
You know, we've grown up to be tough. We've grown up to have control over things. You know, as a man, you always have to have control.
That's right.
Over things, you know, and those values. Yeah. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those values, because here's the thing. Let's say, for example, self-reliance. It's something that people are trying to achieve these days.
Yeah.
People want to be self-reliant. So there's nothing wrong with, you know, being a self-reliant man. But then the thing is, how do we do that in a healthier way? And I think for Black men, because we've been raised that way, and I think there's a question you're going to ask about the signs and symptoms of you know, depression or anxiety, or because I don't think we have I think in our culture's way, let's say for example where I am coming from, we don't have the specific words, you know, we don't have the specific words for some of the, I don't know if you think about it, the language that we use, you know, when it comes to sadness, depression, some of the language we use, you know, it's different.
Yes. And
I don't think it gives the experience the level of value that it should get. Because here's for example, you know, you see emotional or psychological symptoms or signs of depression. Okay. In most people. In some people, some of these symptoms are physical.
Whoa.
You know, you don't have to be sad, laying in bed, to be depressed and alone, to be depressed.
Okay. So tell us about that. What are the let's jump into the actual question. What are the signs?
The question.
What are the signs and symptoms of depression? How does it look like? Give us like a spectrum of how we can identify. So let's say someone is watching and they have depression. How do they know?
So with depression, like I said, it's different across cultures. It's different across religions. It's different, you know, it's different across traditions. You can keep going. So some people, and especially, let's say, for example, within the context of men, all right, you will see a lot of irritability. You know, it's so easy for you to get irritated.
Okay.
You know, it's when you look at things, and then something happens, even if it was, you know, the smallest thing that like someone can get upset over, all of a sudden you're upset. There's restless, you know, there's problems with eating. There's some people will experience the issues like you distance yourself from everyone. And especially family. And friends. So all of a sudden you just feel like you want to be by yourself. There's nothing wrong with being by yourself. As long as it's intentional. But this is like you unintentionally just want to be by yourself.
So it's like you're being forced to, I guess, by your own emotions.
Exactly.
Let's say.
So you detach yourself from people, detach yourself from friends. And then this is the biggest one with men is impulsivity.
Okay. What's that?
You're very reactive. Like your impulses are high. You do things. You do things before you think, even without realizing that you've done it. Whoa. But here's the thing with depression. Here's the thing with depression. One of the like a brain region implicated in depression is the hippocampus. Now the hippocampus is in charge of your memory and learning. So there's a lot. You know, and now there's also the prefrontal cortex that does the executive function.
That's right.
Now, so now there's like a miscommunication between your working memory, your short-term memory, and your long-term memory.
What? Okay. So what happens as a result?
So because of that disconnect, you know, the decisions you make are very reactive.
And disconnected.
Are disconnected. Yes. They're disconnected. Because when you're deciding on something, your brain is working. Your brain is like depending on what you're working on, but when you're making a decision, when you're implementing an executive function, there's a lot of brain regions involved in that. You know, and what happens is if you're working in the moment, if you're doing something that requires in the moment problem solving, in the moment decision making, that won't go well. You know, which means if you're at work, your work goes down. You know, like your productivity, you cannot be productive. right? Because you can't focus. You lose concentration so easily. You're like, oh, what was I doing? And then you also have these memory problems because remember, your hippocampus is messed up.
Yes. Wow.
You know, your working short-term, long-term memory are disconnect. So now you're having problems, you're having problems to be able to know, okay, oh, what was I doing? Oh, what's going on? What's going on? And you can't focus. So these are some of the basic signs and symptoms that, okay, maybe I need to sit down. I need to sit down and rethink. And it's in that moment that when you sit, all right, when you sit and reflect on, okay, what exactly is going on right now?
Yeah.
And then you start to pinpoint stuff, which is why for some people, they don't have to go to therapy. Meditation works. Why? Because meditation allows you to sit with yourself
and analyze what's going on.
Exactly.
Okay. Well,
exactly. So it's like you assess and evaluate yourself. It's you take like a whole body assessment. Like it's connecting with your inner self.
Okay.
And your inner self can be a lot of things. That's what meditation is you accessing your inner self.
That's really deep.
Anyways,
and I must say, I'm being educated right now because when I thought of depression, my understanding was, someone is sad and lonely and stuff. But listening to your perspective, and it's really a lot of learning now. Thank you for doing this and teaching other men what it means.
Like even in the basic examples, like even not being able, you know how sometimes you lose appetite for some unknown reason. For some unknown reason, you feel like I don't want to eat. For some unknown reason, all of a sudden, it's all of a sudden.
Yeah.
You look at food, it's not appetizing as anymore. You look at things. Exactly. You lose appetite. Your digestion, because your digestion has also dropped.
Yeah.
And then you look at the things that you previously enjoyed. This is one of the classic ones with depression is that you lose the pressure you used to get from doing the things you previously enjoyed to do.
Okay. That's a very good sign. That's easier to identify.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is interesting. Now let's get to the solution. I think we've been discussing problems for the last 20 minutes or so. If I have a friend, a family member who's going through mental health, trauma-related issues, how do I support them?
So are you asking within the context of men?
Yes, within the context of men.
Okay.
We are men. We're talking about men today.
Okay. So I think within the context of men.
I mean, you can also extend it to women later, but I want to hear men first, and then you can.
Yeah. Men. Actually, I think one of the things, for me, one of the things I'm realizing that possibly, we're doing wrong is that, approaching men's mental health the same way we approach mental health in general.
Okay. Why is that?
And I think so because with men, we have different needs.
Okay.
We have different needs. We have different needs than, let's say, for example, women.
Okay.
Let's say, for example, if we focus on us,
okay,
we're looking at self-reliance. We're looking at toughness. We're looking at strength. We're looking at control. We're looking at power. We're looking at purpose. We're looking at meaning.
Okay.
Those are some of the things that, men associate themselves with.
Right.
All right. And then on the other side, women will look at other things that are different from men. So possibly looking at love, looking at connection.
Yeah.
And it's different. So you have to find a way to approach men. So if it's your family relative, one of the biggest things is don't tell them man up.
Okay. So what do we tell them?
And that can come in many ways. It might not just be man up. It might be something like, oh, come on, you got this. Come on, you can do this. Seriously, yeah. Seriously, you can do this. Okay. And those are things, because now you're activating their manlyhood, where they'll be like, oh yes, of course I can do this. Of course I got this. Yes, you want them to feel that way. You want them to feel that they can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But you also want them to realize that it's okay to be weak.
Mm.
You know, it's okay for me right now not to be able to do anything.
Wow.
It's okay. You know, it's okay for me right now to look helpless.
Wow.
You know, because that's what they're feeling. That's what they're going through.
Yeah.
And so you have to allow them, give them that chance to sit with their feelings
Mm-hmm.
and to reflect on their feelings. Only when they're able to sit and reflect on their feelings can they identify what exactly is going on.
That's right. That's right.
Because the problem is usually identifying, okay, what has happened?
Mm-hmm.
What's going wrong?
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the biggest, that's one of the big, so if you want to help them,
Mm-hmm.
show them respect, honor their experiences,
Mm-hmm.
right? Honor what they've gone through,
Yeah.
honor what they're trying to tell you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And be real.
Be real.
Be real with them so that they can be real with you. And also, it won't happen. Like nobody, for men,
Mm-hmm.
you won't be like, are you okay? No, man, I'm not okay, man. This thing is bothering. No, it doesn't go like that.
How does it go?
They need space.
Space.
They need space.
Okay.
They need time.
Mm.
They need to grow into the moment.
Wow.
You know, we talk a lot about needing space, needing time,
Mm-hmm.
but for men, it's paramount.
Mm.
It's paramount that you give them that time and space to really get into the talking with you.
Because it's not a natural thing for them, I suppose.
No,
Okay.
it's not natural. It doesn't come natural.
Okay.
It doesn't come natural.
Mm.
You know, it's circumstantial. Some people will tell you that for men, it's not good to get into the face-to-face talk.
Okay. What's the alternative?
Get into something. So face-to-face is, you know, therapy kind, or like talking face-to-face.
Yeah.
For men, what works better actually is action, shoulder to shoulder, where you're working on something.
Mm.
All right. Where let's say, for example, you know, you invite them, you're having lunch, you're having food, or like you go play, like you play sports,
Yeah.
or you do your painting, you're doing, so that usually, you know, that usually slows, it's slow. You take them
Mm-hmm.
and then you put them in a position where they're vulnerable
Mm.
without realizing it.
Okay.
Because some people would tell you that men struggle with multitasking. That's one of the ideas.
Oh.
Because, okay, some of this information will just come out, and then they'll not realize that until it's a trick.
Okay.
Okay. It's a trick because, you know, they're busy. So they're busy because they're not concentrating on the fact that they're talking about the problems. Because when you give them that opportunity to focus on talking about their problems, that's a problem. But if someone is fixing something, and then they're constantly talking, they'll keep talking. Because
This is so good.
like the hands are busy. And then, you know, it's like using like some attention tricks to shift their attention
So they can
so that they
open
don't
up.
fix it. Exactly.
Well, I'm going to use that
Anyways,
to
my
tell
phone.
my brothers. I'm going to interrupt our discussion with this song. So you posted another video reacting to a song called
To Be a Man.
right?
To be
And-
a man, yes.
And I'm just going to play that right now if possible. So I'll play a few seconds and then I'll ask you some questions.
I can't hide myself. I don't expect you to understand. I just hope I can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and they don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home.
Being a man is what you make it. You can't always live up to expectations. You try to please everybody while you struggle, so you fake it and end up out of balance, compromising situations. As a good man, do what he should, man. I'll give everything he has and do everything he could, man. You might find yourself feeling all alone inside a house you built that you don't recognize as home.
How accurate did the artist here depict the condition of men today?
Oh, I think he did really well.
Okay.
I think he did amazing, because like he said, even in his, I don't know if you could call it bridge, do they call it chorus?
Yeah, I think that's what you call it, bridge or something.
Yeah. So something like that, when he says, okay, I wish I could, I wish I could, explain to you, what it is to be a man. That's how deep it is. He did amazing, because what he put out there is that this is what it is like to be a man. But I wish I could actually explain this to you. Even though he did the explaining there, he still feels that this is not enough. I wish I could.
This is very interesting. And the reason why I played that is so that I ask you the following question. So from your perspective and your experience so far, there was a question recently that was asked in Congress, I think. The question was, what is a woman, right? And there was some issues with that. People couldn't define a woman. But my question to you is, what does it mean to be a man? If it's not about the strength, if it's not about being strong, what then does it mean to be a man?
That's a very loaded question. It's a loaded question. And I think for me, looking at my experiences with where I am right now and where I want to be, I think what makes a man is respect.
Okay. Respect. What does that mean? What does that look like?
Have you heard this definition of respect? I heard back then, but every time I reflect on it, it's a very interesting definition of respect. And I don't know if you've heard about it.
Okay.
But I say respect is doing the right thing.
Okay.
The right time and the right place.
Okay. Interesting. So,
and I think that's what it means to be a man.
Okay, so that's to be a man means to do the right thing at the right time.
In the right place.
Okay. Well, I'm sure those who are listening may be like, I don't get it.
Okay, because so here's the thing with men,
okay,
with men historically, whenever we're caught, whenever we're caught in either the right side or the wrong side of things, it's usually about what we did,
when we did it,
and where we did it.
Interesting. Okay.
All right. So for the man, the way I grew up, anyways, is making sure I balance that. I know where I am. I know what I'm doing. Making sure all of that.
Interesting.
Because this definition of respect, it instills what I would consider it's not perfection, but I think it's what instills greatness.
Greatness. Okay.
Because for a man to be respected, you have to be doing the right things.
At the right time, right place.
At the right time, at the right place. All right. Because if you're doing, if one of these is missed, if you're doing the right things at the right time in the wrong place,
no respect.
No respect.
What? That's interesting. So what I'm hearing you say is respect or being a man means to have self-control and also to be disciplined. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah. In other words, you could put it like that. That's what it is to be a man, because that's where we get our value from. We get that. So, because as men, I was talking to another, I was talking to another guy the other day. I was telling him that for men, I don't know why, but for the most part, everything we do is intended to add value on us within and outside our circles.
Okay, that's interesting. I'll just fix my camera, but keep going.
That's okay. That's okay. But it's the idea that the things we do are intended to increase value for us, whether within family, within friends, because that's what maintains respect. And it's funny because when you think about it, as men, within ourselves as men, within society, within cultures, within traditions, as a man, you're rated on what you can do or what you cannot do.
Wow. So the ability to execute and perform, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
That's where we get our value. And with mental health really tying in the issue of mental health is that, when things get a little complicated when we lose that value.
Because we are value-driven individuals.
Yeah.
Value-driven creatures.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anything that takes value from us, anything that takes me from $50 to $45.
Okay. That affects.
Exactly. So I will try my best to avoid that or protect that. If I'm aware of something that's going to take value from me, then I'll make sure I have that somewhere no one can see.
Interesting. So I have two last questions. And the first one is a bit challenging. It's not scripted.
Okay.
And it goes like this. So with the rise of feminism, how do you think feminism has affected men and men's mental health? What's the connection between the rise of feminism where women seem to be taking over everything, and how does that affect men in general?
I will say this, I have tried to stay away from
that
making
discussion.
such comparison,
Such
discussions, such comparisons, because those are very delicate.
Yes.
Those are very delicate, conversations.
That's
but
right.
one thing I will say, I'm always against the victim mind.
Okay. Why is that?
Because a victim mind, I don't think it's a healthy mind.
You cannot grow with a victim mind.
No.
Okay.
No. You're stuck. You're limited.
Wow.
Unless you go beyond that victim mindset.
Wow. You're stuck. That's good.
You're stuck. You see? So the issue with feminism and men's mental health, we're here stuck in this victim mindset. We're here in this victim mindset where we're like, okay, women are taking control over everything. And here's the thing. The one thing that people actually confuse with control is losing and having control.
Okay.
Most of the times that people think they have control, it's usually times that they've actually lost it.
Okay, that's interesting. How is that possible?
How is that possible? Okay, let me give you a classic example. Yeah,
sure.
I work with men who've been accused of domestic or intimate partner violence. Yeah.
Okay.
And one of the biggest arguments within these things, men are trying to have control over women.
That's right.
But the moment you move into the violence mode, they say you're trying to gain control, but you've actually lost control.
Okay, now I see it.
You see it now?
Yeah, I see it now. Okay.
Because the moment so you're here thinking I have control over this when you've actually lost it.
Wow.
The moment you raise that hand and you're about to grab, you're about to do whatever you want to do, you've lost control.
Wow. And I think,
okay.
yeah.
And we can go a few steps. We can go a few steps back from when the conversation starts, from when the conversation starts to get aggressive, from when the conversation goes into violence. Because you're slowly, so you're like, okay, here's the thing. So like you're in an argument, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, I want this done this way. I want here, there. Okay. You're slowly losing control, thinking that I'm trying to keep this under control.
Wow. This is so good. I hope people are listening, and I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, because it's the idea that we think, okay, you think you have control. But when you go back to look at things, because we focus on so much about gaining control over things, forgetting that in most cases, when you try to get control over something, you lose control over yourself.
Wow. And it's also a sign that you no longer have control. That's why you're trying to seek for it. That means you've lost it either way, right? So
so you're trying to gain control because you just realize that, like, this is getting away from me. This is like, I can't control this anymore. What's going on? So you're like trying to grab when it's actually gone.
You know what? I think the greatest challenge for men is to, while they have the power to get stuff, is to get that control through the opposite of power. So the greatest challenge for men is to put in check their ego and put in check their power and seek to get what they want in a more peaceful way. Because the greatest sign of strength for a man is not that he has strength. That's a given.
No.
But his ability to control the strength is his greatest strength. So if I cannot control my power, I actually don't have power, right? So that's interesting.
Oh yeah. So the issue of feminism and and women taking control over everything, I think it puts us in a victim mindset that I don't think it's a good place to be.
Okay.
I don't think that's a healthier place to be. I think there's a healthier place for us to be.
Yes. I agree. I agree. We need to move on.
Exactly. So it's, it's this issue. I think it's, the gender roles and these are like like I say, these are very delicate conversations depending on where you're having these conversations.
True.
But the fact is, men will always be men and women will always be women. That won't change. And I think we all, because I myself, I have a model that I go by.
Okay. What's the model?
And you might not like this, but if maybe you might relate to it, but I'm not sure, but it's know your place.
That's good.
That's my motto. I know my place.
And what does that mean?
And
if you could break it down.
So that for some people might come out as if, okay, it's very belittling, it's self, like my self-esteem is so low. What's on? Okay. When I say I need to know my place, all right? When things happen, when things happen, I look around, what's going on? Where am I? And the biggest thing that comes from that is humility.
I love that. That's powerful. Humility. Wow.
So when I look around and I know where I am, I'm like, okay, I should know my place right now. It's time to be humble.
To be humble, the greatest challenge, right?
That's the greatest challenge. That's what comes in know your place.
And
so realizing, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that's, for me anyways, I think that's what it means to be a man. To be a man means to be humble, which is, so to be a man in some sense, is not to be a man. Because for you to be a man, you have to go against your natural instincts, so to speak.
No, actually, to be a man is to be a man.
Okay, how so?
All right. To be a man is to be a man. Remember when we talked, when I think like there was somewhere you talked about, how, how for men, we're like strong.
Yes.
Or strength. That's a given for us.
That's right.
To be a man, it's about how you use that effectively.
Okay. Right. So the reason why I say that is because for you to use it effectively, you have in a sense to kind of fight against it in some sense. Because if you just let it loose, then you're no longer a man, you're something else. Right?
Here's the thing.
So for example, I'll give another quick example. Because think of the sexual drive that men have, right? To be a man does not mean to use your sexual drive to the ultimate maximum. To be a man means to control that. You get it? Because that's where you get the respect. A person who has sexual discipline is more respected than a person who does not. So that's the angle I was coming at from.
Remember when I told you the definition of a man and you said that's discipline? A man is disciplined.
That's right.
So all these traits that we think make a man, because it's not one trait. All these traits that we can collectively think that this is what makes a man. It is what makes a man. That's what it is to be a man. And I think we lose the idea of who we are. We lose the concept of who we are. To be a man is to be a man. To be a man is to be disciplined. To be a man is to be tough. To be a man is to be strong. So when you lose any of these traits, that's what compromises us.
Okay.
That's what exposes us.
Okay. That's good.
You see? So I think we'll leave out some of these traits, or we forget them, or we just don't have them out of us. We ignore them. So, and then when we ignore those other sides of us that allow us to be men, then that's how we get in trouble.
Yeah. Interesting. This is good. I guess to be a man, to be a man is to be complicated.
It's a little bit complicated, but to be a man, I think it's that easy. To be a man is to be a man.
Under control.
And I think it's a matter of, it's a matter of understanding, who am I? Who are we? Because as men, we're also different, all right? We've lived through different circumstances, experiences. So it's different. But my thinking is, okay, to be a man is to be a man. Now it's important that you know what makes a man. And if we go into those individual traits that we just talked about, then you will find yourself in there.
Good. Okay, this is good. Now, last question. I promise you this is the last.
Yes.
Let's do some statistics and then we'll close.
Okay.
One of the things I saw on your Instagram was you were, I think, posting about suicide rates and how that's going up. And so looking at the statistics, this is Statistics Canada. We have more. Hold on. Yes, we have more males, right? If I'm not wrong, more males committing suicide than females. What's your response to that? And what do you think is the ultimate solution to this volcano that you spoke about in the beginning, the fire that's burning right now? And then we'll close from there.
So I think if you check, I don't know if you scroll through the next statistic. There's another graph if you scroll through. So one of the statistics tells you the suicide rates. The other one tells you about hospitalization.
Oh there was hospitalization as well. Okay, I see that.
So if you see those statistics, you see that it's like a flipped.
Oh yes, you're right.
You see?
Okay,
you see that?
Interesting. Yeah, I see that.
So you see men are likely to die by suicide than women. And then you go to the hospitalization, there's a lot of factors determining that. So women are likely to end up at the hospital
Then
Yeah, like with self-harm injuries
yes.
than men. You see, it's like a football. And so when it comes to hospitalization, because, there's, women are less likely to go, to complete, to complete suicide, to go with complete suicide.
Yeah.
Because, and I think this is another funny thing, the reason why, so one of the other reasons why men are likely to go through with suicide when they've decided is the whole idea of man up. When we decide, you've made the decision. It's very
to be a man is to make a decision. That's another one.
Yeah.
To decide.
To be a man is to make a decision.
Wow.
And when you make a decision, you have to be, you have to keep your word. You have to go through it.
When a man doesn't keep his word, it messes him up. So sometimes when a man says, I'm going to kill myself, they just go out with it.
Yep. You just go and you do it.
Wow.
And then for women, it's different because, it's, they'll take their time with deciding, they'll take their time. Sometimes, they'll cut themselves. Sometimes they'll call someone. And then that patient is going to call 911 or that person pick them up, take him to the hospital or, there's all these other factors with women that are likely to help them end up at the hospital. So because they don't go they don't go complete. They don't complete the suicide.
Yeah.
Then they are able to end up at the hospital because they they were found before they actually went through the whole thing. But for men, because when you go back, and because men also are likely to use very intense. They're more lethal.
Yeah.
It's not, if it's pills, if a woman will take one, a man will take, 20. If it's men will likely use a gun, men will likely hang themselves and stuff like that. So it's different. If there's more time, women have more time, men don't have the time. And that's so one of the issues now, I think one of the issues that we have that many suicides is the
stigma. That's it.
That's the biggest one. It's the stigma associated with men's mental health. That's why I want to kill myself. If I take my phone
and
call someone and say, I want to kill myself, they'll be like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
It's a joke. You see? They'll be like, are you playing right now?
Are you crazy?
Are you crazy? You see, but I'm not crazy. Right now, my life is I'm not crazy. My life is just, I look at it, I look at myself tomorrow, and I don't see anything.
There's no hope, and the hope is gone.
No, yeah, it's gone. It's gone. I'm trying to see if there's me tomorrow, and it's just blank. I don't see anything. So that's and people be like, you're crazy. No, I'm not crazy. And actually, they don't. They don't see anything. That's the point you're at. Yeah. And which is why, we cannot, this is why we also should avoid making judgments when these type of things happen because we are not there. We don't know where the person was at because for a person to be able to be like, okay, this is it, then it has to be it.
That's right. Wow.
That's how hard it is. That's how hard if a person gets that situation, we can be like, come on, that coward. No. We've never been there. We've never been on that edge of the cliff to really see how high it is when you look down. They're the ones looking down and seeing how high it is. Wow. So with the stats, and that's one of the things, okay, we need to get all the help we can get. And since you've said that this is the last question, and I'm just going to, extend it a little bit and talk about, the act of seeking help, why it's important for men who are seeing this, who are watching this, why it is important for them to seek help. And like you said, we're strong. That's a given. We're tough. That's a given. We're courageous. That's a given. But how do we access our toughness in a healthy way? Because let me give you something. Okay. Yeah. I know you're a Christian. Yeah. And I myself am a Christian. And there's other people that are not Christians out there, and that's okay. Okay. But this is something that can apply in every situation. That's how God created this universe. When I was back home, there was this saying that used to go around. And when I think about it, it always resonates well. It always sits well with me. I sit down and I'm like, it is well.
Okay.
God does not save us from the fire. God saves us through the fire.
That's it. That's a good one. Yeah. Yeah. Through the fire.
You know, you've heard that. You've heard that so many times that God saves us through the fire, not from the fire. You see the fire is burning. Yeah. The fire is burning and you hear cry, oh, the fire. God is not going to take the fire away. The fire will still be there for him to show his greatness.
Okay. And also to create greatness in you.
Exactly.
Wow.
You walk through that fire and you won't burn it. That's how great God is.
Wow.
All right. But then you have to
call him. That's right.
So that's the idea of seeking help. Going to seek help for man. All right.
Won't take away
going to seek help. No. Talking with someone won't take away the issue. But what it will allow you to do is it will help you access your greatness.
Okay.
It will help you access your toughness. It will help you access your strength. That's what therapy is. When you go to therapy, the job of the therapist is to help you access
your strength. Regain your strength.
Regain your strength.
This is good.
We don't take problems away. We don't move the problems away. No, the problem is still there.
And that applies to trauma as well. It's not that we're taking it away. We're just facing it. And like you said, having a handshake with it.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Okay.
So it's important that we realize that seeking help is not a weakness. Seeking help is re-strategizing. Wounded soldiers don't fight wars. Wounded soldiers die. You know, that's why wounded soldiers are sent home. They're sent back to see the nurse. You don't see a wounded soldier and keep pushing them into the war. No. So you gotta go back, re-strategize. You look at, you look at, what did I miss? How did I get shot? You know, what was there someone? Exactly.
This is good.
So those are the things we're looking at. So seeking help is accessing your greatness, accessing your toughness, accessing your self-reliance. Because here's the thing. When we're psychologically unwell, we were talking previously how that affects your decision-making and problem-solving.
That's right.
Because it does impair the function of your prefrontal cortex. You know, it does impair the function of your hippocampus, learning and memory. You're not able to concentrate. So what happens is, you know, when you're psychologically unwell, all right, you have to sit down. All right. Either you yourself reflect, sit with yourself, in yourself, and reflect on yourself, or you can have a chat with someone else. Yeah. Their job is just to be there and help you access your strength to pinpoint what is happening, what went wrong.
Wow. That's very good. That's very good. And
so, go ahead.
Well, this has been an amazing conversation, and I hope many people will learn a lot from this. But I guess in closing, I would just like to add my perspective to this whole thing.
Yeah.
I think in general, you know, I'll say to be human in general. To be human, I think, if you ask me what does it mean to be human, I would say to be human is to be vulnerable and to be open. And I think that's something that's tough for men. It's not easy for men to be vulnerable. And yet, surprisingly, their greatest strength is found in being vulnerable. A man who is vulnerable is a man who is secure. A man who is not vulnerable is a man who doesn't know what to do when they don't know what to do. And knowing what to do
yes.
when you don't know what to do is a very good thing you need to have.
yeah.
Because when you no longer have options, you need to know that you can talk to someone and get that help. And we just want to encourage men to speak up about things that they're going through, find a friend and chat. And yes, you're a man, but talking about things, being vulnerable doesn't make you less of a man. In fact, it makes you more of a man, right? And so that would be my 2 cents. Anything else from your side as we close, or should we wrap it up here?
Oh, I think we've talked a lot.
Yeah.
For closing, really, for me, I think it's let's, as men, because this happens a lot within the context of men, let's not be barriers to other men for them to access help.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Let's not be the obstacles that prevent men to access help.
Mm-hmm.
Because if a friend of yours is having a problem or is struggling, don't be a barrier.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is we need to abstain from the stereotypic identity of a man.
Right.
We need to refrain asking men to man up. And there's a million ways you can say man up without having to use the word man up.
Yeah.
I think we explored one of the ones in the beginning that, about trauma, but I think it's important that we don't become barriers for other men when they're trying to access help, when they're trying to seek help, when they're doing all they can to get help.
Yeah.
Because the moment you become a barrier, that man is not going to ask or seek for help. And sometimes it will be too late for them to seek help. And by too late, I don't mean date. By too late, it could be in jail. By too late, it could be at the hospital. By too late, it might become a psychological disorder that cannot be reversed.
Yeah.
By too late, you have neurological, because all this stuff that happens and we leave it undealt with or unresolved.
Yeah.
It does affect our physiology.
Wow.
The brain is a very delicate organ.
Yeah.
And stress, as we finish up, I'm just going to give this as an example,
Yeah, sure.
Recently I got shingles. Yeah. I don't know how long ago it was. Yeah. So I got shingles and I didn't know it was shingles. I thought it was just a rash, shingles. So like it's a viral infection. I thought it was just a rash. Okay. And then, I went to the doctor, says you have shingles. And then when I went to one of my colleagues, one of my colleagues gave me a call and said, you need to take some time off work. So this is one of my colleagues, that's a psychotherapist. He says, you need to take some time off work because I think there's stuff going on in your life that we don't know. And that's why you're having these physiological problems. All right. Mm-hmm. Okay. I was like, it's fine. I'll take my time and what's so on. Mm-hmm. But then, so that was before I went to the doctor and then I got tested. Mm-hmm. And actually, so when I went to see the doctor, I was like, okay, so how is work? You said you're doing work. How is school? So, okay. How is your personal life?
So how's that related?
How's family? How is this related to shingles? Shingles.
Give me some cream, right?
Yeah, give me some cream because I'm in pain. I'm like, I just need something to, stop the nerve pain that I'm feeling right now.
Right.
I don't think it's got anything to do with what I'm doing at work.
Right.
But here's a funny thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So at that time at my work, all right, I had just around the same time, I had just heard that. I had just heard that one of the programs I'm working on was no longer going to be active because they're going to stop the funding.
Oh, okay.
All right. So I was very stressed about that. the fact that I need to figure out how I'm going to work out my clients. Some of these clients so some of these clients I've been with them for the longest time. I have to tell them that this program is running out of funding. And even myself, I don't have work. I have school. I have to pay bills. I have to do all these other things.
Right.
And the stress is piling up. So now I'm like, okay, I guess now I have to start looking at, look at my resume, see if it's up to date. I need to update my resume. I need to put it out there. I need to find a job. Like it's all these things going on. Yeah. And then at the same time, I was also having some problems with my family back home because my sister was going to have a wedding, and there was a chance that I was going to miss the wedding.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot going on. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm trying to connect all that. And you think that, okay, I'm just stressed. I'm just overwhelmed and what's going on. All right. But when I went to the doctor, said, stress affects your immune system. Your ability to respond to viral infection.
Wow.
Because at my age, I should not be getting shingles.
Interesting.
And even if I get shingles, my immune system my immune system should be able to, fight it off.
Yes.
But the reason why it stayed so long and I was in such pain, my immune system was compromised. So exactly. So these are physiological signs and symptoms that we don't know about. I just got a disease that I don't know where it came from. But my colleague, who is a clinician, who is a psychotherapist, picked up on it. Okay, you're going through some stuff and you need to take some time off. And I'm here saying, I need to work.
Because you think in working, you're going to solve the problem, right?
Yeah. I need to work. But that's so these are things that, we don't realize, we don't pick up on, because stress, depression, anxiety, it's not just about the emotional, the psychological. There's also other physical, and some of these physiological effects, if left untreated, some of these physiological effects might be long-term, might be life-threatening in some situations.
Wow.
So it's important, and so it is important that we as men refrain from being barriers for other men to access help.
That's right.
It's very important. The moment you see a man struggling, please don't be a barrier, because they need help.
Be a bridge.
And be a bridge. And sometimes you find that these men are aware that they need help. Like they know that they need help. But the moment someone turns them into a joke, then they're like, oh,
okay, I won't bother anymore.
Exactly.
I did myself.
It's me. It's just me.
Wow. Well, you know what? I'm glad we had this conversation, and this was my response to your Man Up video. You say we should talk about things and all that. So I'm glad we had this conversation, and I hope many people will benefit from this. And thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here and have this conversation. So respect and blessings.
Thank you, and God bless you.